Hey everybody, thank you for joining me. I am Gara and you are watching the Alarm series. So I'm so excited to be back here with you guys. It's been such a long time, like 5 years to be exact, since the last time that I posted a video. If you are new to the Alarm series, I'll just give you a quick recap intro of who I am and what I do here. And I am a little bit of a spiritual junkie. I love God. I love the Bible. I love to study scriptures. I love to see those scriptures kind of like take a life of its own and come to life in my life. I believe that happens for everyone that takes the words of God and instills them in their life and uses them as a seed to live their life. I believe that your life, those scriptures and those seeds kind of come to life, and that you're able to just understand the Bible in a different way. I remember when I was not mentally and physically prepared to receive the Bible. Remember that the spirit is always willing, but the flesh is weak. And I remember trying to understand certain things and trying to read it. I've always had like a pull, a gravity to the Bible. It was just a matter of me taming my flesh to sit down and actually receive it and concentrate and focus on it. And I remember not being able to just understand anything I was reading and kind of, you know, being bored a little bit in a sense, Father, I'm sorry, with what I was reading. But it was just that I was not there yet. And so I just want to share that with you guys, just in case that you're in a position where you're like, well, you know, I kind of try to read it sometimes, but nothing happens for me. It's just a matter of being really, really, really ready. And the more that you attempt to do it and the more that you make yourself available to do it, the more that you're molding your flesh to actually receive it, because it's going to fight you. The devil is a lie. So you might want to do that. And so as far as this show, I mean, I started it a few years back just with that purpose, with the purpose of just wanting to just pour out some of the stuff that was overflowing in me. And then I started doing these videos, and life got in the way, and I had to stop for a while. I really just didn't have the concentration and the time to put into it to put it together for you guys. So I was out for a little bit, but I am happy to be back for many reasons. I mean, making these videos keeps me as well focused and in tune and refreshed on some of the things that I love to know and that I love to keep in mind for myself. So I appreciate you guys being here. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope that we can help each other, and that you are blessed by the messages, and that in the process I am also blessed, because I don't do this alone. I do this hoping that God is present and that He is here to speak the words that need to be spoken. And because I know you guys are not here to hear from me, but you're here to hopefully get something out of this. And so I hope that He makes His way here and that He is present, so that His words can come through and bless you and bless me. Because sometimes I'll say stuff that are not even in my notes, and that's how I know that it's Him coming through. And I'll just be like, ooh, pause, you know, and I'll have my own dose of aha moments too. So it's a team effort in a sense, and so I hope that you guys enjoy it. So getting right to it, today we're going to be doing a little bit of today I want to share a message with you guys that honestly, during the course that I've been out and not filming videos, has constantly revisited itself in my life. There's a couple of scriptures actually that have done that, and I think and those are more than likely going to be the first videos that I'll post up, just because they have been like burning in my soul to get it out and to share with you guys. And I'm very, very excited to do that, because they have honestly been so transformative for me in my life, and I hope that they can do the same for you. So today we're going to be reading out of Genesis, and just to kind of give you guys an idea of I want to paraphrase a little bit of what's going on in this particular part of the story, just so you guys understand. Sometimes it's difficult to kind of get a grasp of what's going on entirely by just reading a couple of verses that we pull out of a whole storyline there. So we're going to be at Genesis. You guys bear with me, I'm looking down at my notes here. We're going to be at Genesis chapter 19 verse 15. Okay, and this is where we're going to be at what's going on with Lot and the city that he lives in, which is Sodom and Gomorrah. Okay, Lot is Abraham's nephew. Abraham is the father of the nations, God's good friend, loyal servant. You know, he communicates with God. I mean, only in a way that we can only wish that we can really communicate with God. I mean, he pretty much just like picks him up on the phone, you know, and gets a response and has a interactive kind of back and forth with God. So in this particular situation, God actually shares with with Abraham rather, that he's going to be destroying Sodom and Gomorrah. And Abraham, knowing that his nephew lives in this town with his wife and his 2 daughters, is you know, is shocked, and he's asking God, like, basically, okay, I mean, you know, what about if there's, you know, just a few righteous people in this town? Would you destroy the town with those people? And you know, and he pretty much convinces God to spare the life of his nephew Lot, and so God actually agrees to do it because of Abraham. And that is a whole nother message that I eventually want to share with you guys, which is generational blessings. Because some of us are out here and we are living the best life, living our best life, not because of us and our good standing with God and our prayer life and our obedience, but because of our grandma's prayers and our mom's prayers. And so we're riding this wave of grace that is really not one that we paid for ourselves. So this is basically what's going on with Lot, as far as the grace that is on his life. But the city that he lives in is actually a wicked city, and the cry has been great to God's ears, and the wickedness and the perversion and the crimes that are going on there are just way too much, and God wants to get rid of the whole entire thing. So so the angels are sent to take Lot and his family out of that town, so that they can go in and do what they need to do. Okay, so we're going to take it from there, and we are going to be at chapter 19 verse 15. I'm going to be putting it down at the bottom of the screen. I also am going to be putting it in the Amplified version, which is the version that I'm going to be reading. I like to study out of the Amplified version. It gives really cool paraphrases that are, you know, better to understand, you know, plainer English, plainer words. I also like King James, and I like the English Standard, so whichever one is it that you like, you can go with that, but I'm going to be just using the Amplified for this particular reading. Okay, so if you don't have your Bibles yet, go get it, or get your smartphone, which is what I'll be using here with the Bible app that I have installed in here. And here we go. When morning dawned, angels urged Lot to hurry, saying, "Get up, take your wife and 2 daughters who are here, and go, or you will be swept away in the punishment of the city." But Lot hesitated and lingered, and the men took hold of his hand, and the hand of his wife, and the hands of his 2 daughters, because the Lord was merciful to him for Abraham's sake. And they brought him out, and left him outside the city with his family. When they had brought them outside, one of the angels said, "Escape for your life. Do not look behind you, or stop anywhere in the entire valley. Escape to the mountains, or you will be consumed and swept away." Okay, I want to stop there, but I want to move forward a little bit, fast forward a little bit, and I want to jump back on at chapter 20, at verse 24. So now Genesis, write down to 24. Then the Lord rained down brimstone, sulfur, and fire on Sodom and Gomorrah from the Lord out of heaven. And he withdrew, demolished, ended those cities and the entire valley and all the inhabitants of the cities and whatever grew on the ground. But Lot's wife, from behind him, foolishly, longingly, looked back towards Sodom in an act of disobedience, and she became a pillar of salt. All right, I want us to stop there. You know, there's so much that can be taken out of these couple of verses. I mean, literally, there's so much that can be said, that can be taken out of it. A lot. And I want to focus, I want to try to really focus. I am going to focus on Lot's wife, because this is what the message is really today about. But the way my ADD is set up, I might just stop along the way here and there and just briefly bullet point and pinpoint to you guys some of the very important messages that are there, even before we get to Lot's wife at the very end of what we just read. Okay, but with that being said, I want to give you guys the name of this message today, that like I said, is more based on Lot's wife. And the name of today's message is going to be, Don't Look Back at It. Okay? And I know that there's a song out, I heard it the other day, this kid, something hoodie, something, whatever, and he was talking about look back at it. And I know he's not talking about what we talking about, but I was already studying for this particular message, and I was like, I disagree kindly. So we are today going to be on the don't look back at it. All right? Don't look back at it. And with that being said, let's get into this. All right, guys. So right off the bat, the angels come to Lot and they tell him to get up, get his daughters, get his wife, hurry out, don't look back, keep it moving, is basically what they tell him. And I want to just pinpoint a couple of things that is very important for us to acknowledge with what's going on with him. The first thing that I noticed here, which stood out to me, is that the angels tell him to get up, to take his wife, or else he's going to be swept away with the punishment of the city. And in 16, it says that he hesitated and lingered. And then the men took him by the hand, him, his wife, and his two daughters, to get out. Now, how many times do we ourselves know that we're receiving a direction, that we're receiving instructions, and we kind of hesitate and we linger and we think about it and we procrastinate and we're like, God, is that you? You know, if that's you, send me another message. And we're just like making all these excuses not to get up and do what we need to do. And there comes a point where you feel like the situation has become almost inevitable for you to do that thing now. Now it's like, okay, now I don't have a choice. And I think that is so telling of that point in time where God is now grabbing you by the hand, and you know, and it's like, let's go, I done told you, you know. And I think that is very metaphorically speaking what you know, my understanding of how in that moment it became now a situation where it was like, okay, there's no more time for you to think about it, there's no more time for you to understand. You shouldn't even be trying to understand what's going on. You should just be moving by faith, not by sight, you know. And that was something that stood out for me with Lot. Another thing that stood out for me with Lot is that the angels told him as well to escape for his life and to escape to the mountains. Now, this is to me that type of message where it's like, when they go low, you go high. To me, going to the mountains is going high. To me, going high is seeking God, is seeking His face, is getting to a different level, to rising above circumstances and situations. And so it was very, very, it stood out to me very much that they told him to go to the mountains. I mean, they could have told him crawl underneath, you know, crawl in a hole in a valley, or crawl into you know, or dig up a hole, or there's like this underground thing, or, you know, but go up to the mountain, go high, rise above the situation. They also just mentioned that if he didn't go up to the mountain, if he didn't go up high, so to speak, that he would be swept away and consumed by what was going on. And I mean, you know, I think we can all agree that there's a time in our lives when we're going through something that if we don't rise above the situation and seek God and seek His face and seek the peace that is there for us, that surpasses all understanding, we would also be consumed and swept away. I mean, because God is that anchor that keeps our boat from rocking, so to speak, you know, from being swayed by winds, and keeping us anchored in one place and centered and at peace. And again, to me, that just translated what the angels were telling him, just translated into that for us to take out of that. And so moving on to Lot's wife, which is what I want to really talk to you guys about. So at the end of verse 26, we're told that Lot's wife from behind him foolishly and longingly looks back in an act of disobedience, and she's turned into a pillar of salt. I mean, let's just first of all not even ignore the fact that we don't even know Lot's wife's name. Like, she's always and forever referred to as Lot's wife. Okay? And I think it's because of the fact that she didn't move past this particular phase in her life, this particular moment in her life, that, you know, which was the moment where she became salty. She was turned into a pillar of salt. And it was that moment in her life where nothing more could come from her. And I want you guys to understand where I'm going with this. It's all going to come together. While it sounds like, you know, I'm here and there, it's all going to come together. But she never made a name for herself. Not even, she wasn't around long enough to even to be worked through by God. She wasn't around long enough to create who she was, to define herself for who she was, to be productive in who she was going to be. She didn't give herself that opportunity, and so the Bible makes that clear by not even giving her a name, and always calling her Lot's wife. You know, we have a saying nowadays, which is, you know, don't get salty, don't be salty, you know, saltiness. And to be salty is what? To be salty, what we call to be salty, is not necessarily what, depending how we look at that term, it's not exactly what it means here. And I mean, let's just be practical. When something is salty, it's almost of no use any longer. I mean, take it, you go to a restaurant, you order something nice, it comes to the table, it's like super high on salt, super salty. Okay? It becomes unedible. It's something that it can't touch the palate. It has no, it lost its purpose. It lost its reason for being there. It no longer can be gratifying to you, and so it becomes unproductive. it becomes something that's unproductive. You're no longer productive because I can no longer eat you because you're salty. And let's look at it in that way. But I was curious to find out exactly what the Bible means by salty, and so I did some research to find other places in the Bible that the term salt might have been used and how it was used. And I was curious to find, I also use the concordance when I'm studying. It also kind of amplifies a lot of the words. A nice concordance comes with Greek definitions and Hebrew translations, and it gives you just a better sense of how they used in that time the terms to describe what was going on. So with that being said, I'm going to read you guys just I found two other scriptures in the Bible that can give us a good sense of what it meant for her to become a pillar of salt and what that represented in the Bible. Okay, I want you to follow me to Judges chapter 9 verse 45. I will as well put it at the bottom of the screen here so you guys can so you guys don't have to race and follow me. So I'll just be the one racing right now because I'm alright, I got it on my phone highlighted here, so give me just a second. Judges 9 verse 45. Alright, so I'm gonna read a short verse here. I'm not gonna get too much into the storyline here, but this is there's a fight going on, and there's an overtake of a city, and this particular person, Abimelech, is pretty much the one doing the destroying and the destruction here. And I'm gonna start at 44. So actually, Judges chapter 9 verse 44. Then Abimelech and the company with him advanced forward and stood in the entrance of the city gate. The two other companies attacked all who were in the field and killed them. Abimelech fought against the city that entire day. He took the city and killed the people who were in it, and demolished the city and sowed it with salt. Now, if you look this up in the concordance, it paraphrases right next to the ending of this particular verse, right next to sowed it with salt. They paraphrase, making the land unproductive. So in this particular story here with Abimelech, he destroys the city, he kills everybody that's in it, and he makes sure that that city is never productive again. And he sows it with salt to make sure that that's the case. So that's the first of my reference scriptures that I found regarding salt. The second one I'm going to go to is going to be Deuteronomy chapter 29 verse 23. Deuteronomy chapter 29 verse 23. This story I know fairly well, and this is going to be Moses. And Moses has freed the people, the Israelites, of Egypt, of the power of the Pharaoh. And now he's basically, in this particular chapter that we're going to read here, he's reminding them of the work that God did in this time. And he's reminding them of he's telling them, don't forget what God did for us here. Don't forget how we fought our way out of Egypt, and how God gave us his supernatural powers to be able to accomplish it, and we will not be here if it wasn't because of him. So you better listen to what he's saying, and you better follow his instructions, because if you don't, your generations to come after you are going to be still receiving the curse of that God is going to put on this place if you guys here right now don't get it right. That's basically what he was saying. I mean, it wasn't in those words, but let's get to the words that it really was. So now the generation, I'm going to start at 22. Deuteronomy 29 verse 22. Now the generation, your children, who come after you and the foreigner who comes from a distant land, when they see the plagues of this land and the diseases which the Lord has afflicted it, will say, the whole land is brimstone and salt, a burning waste, unsown and unproductive, and no grass grows in it. It is like the overthrow of Sodom and Gomorrah. I'm going to stop there. So, again, this is Moses, and he is telling the people, the Israelites, of what it's going to be like if they don't obey from this point on, now being out of the hands of Egypt. If they don't continue to obey, if they don't continue to seek, if they don't continue to walk in the path, if they don't stop looking for other gods to honor and to worship. So he's basically telling them, if you guys don't get it right now, the generations to come, your children to come, are going to come, and they're going to see what's left, and they're going to say, this is just like Sodom and Gomorrah, a burning waste, unsown and unproductive, where no grass grows. And I want to zero in really on Moses. His words are, the whole land is brimstone and salt. Now, in the story of what happened, of the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, the only salt mentioned was Lot's wife turning into salt. It was not like God came and sprinkled salt like Abimelech on the land to actually make it unproductive. The only salt that was mentioned was Lot's wife at that time. I mean, he did use fire and he did use sulfur to destroy it, but Moses refers to it as part of the destruction of it was the salt that she became, because the salt again is mentioned to represent the element that now has made it unproductive and has made it a place where nothing grows from, where no inspiration enters, where the Spirit does not work through, where the Spirit is being mourned. You know do you see what I'm getting at with this? So for me personally, this story just came to life, and I'll tell you why. There was a period in my life during the time that I was off the air, where I was going through my own awakening as far as what the scripture meant. And I had read the scripture some time before that. The way that it works with reading the Bible is that you read through the Bible and you research it and you might study it some, but in that moment those scriptures might not mean much to you. The words of the Bible are a seed, and if you put a seed into a pot with soil, you're not going to see the production of that seed as soon as you plant it. That seed, with time and with watering, will eventually show its fruits. And the words of the Bible are exactly that. They are a seed that you plant in the soil that is within you. And the water, which is your life experiences, will eventually bring those seeds to bloom, and the words become life, and you start beginning to see those things that you were reading that didn't mean much then, and they start becoming your life experience. So I'll tell you a quick story. So I was in a relationship, and I was in a relationship for quite a long time. We're gonna say about 8 years or so. And it was always like a turbulent relationship, always up and down, always in and out, drama filled. I mean, and it was really, really tough. And and I really loved the person, so I wanted to try to make things happen. But probably about 3 years into the relationship, I had gotten the word. I was in my bathroom, I was upset, and I had gotten the word right then and there. You know, I was probably praying and just, you know, trying to figure out what was going on, and the word came to me, and the word was step away. Get away from that situation. I knew I needed to get away. I really didn't need a word to tell me to get away, but it came. It came, and it was like that reassurance that what I knew was what it was. And still in all, it took me another 5-6 years to actually walk it out, you know. But I noticed something was going on after I received the word. I began to realize something that was going on, and I almost want to say that when I received that word was probably about 5 years ago, the last time I had made a video here with you guys. And what was going on for me was that I was in this, you know, twister was what it felt like. And every time that I was in it, I could not receive inspiration for the things that I like to do. I'm a very creative person. I mean, I enjoy doing videos with you guys and talking about God and spirituality. Is one of my favorite things. I also like to write music. I also sing. If you guys, you know, don't know much about me, I run a blog now where I pretty much focus on lifestyle and makeup and hair. I'm a beauty enthusiast. I love everything having to do with feeling good, with looking good. If you guys don't know about the website, it's called bougiechick.com. Check it out. I think you really enjoy it. And so I like to be creative. I like to be creative. If I'm not creative, I'm bored. And as I said, one thing that I noticed is that anytime that I was back into the twister, I would not be inspired to do anything. And it was not like, you know, like, oh my God, I'm out of the relationship, I'm depressed, I can't get out of bed, I'm crying, sobbing, oh my God, I can't get my stuff together because of this man. It was not that, because it came to the point after 5-6 years of one of these type of relationships, you're just like whatever. Like, you break up, you make up, you break up, you make up. When you break up, it's just like, you know, call your girls, let's go, you know, do something. And it's just like, and you already kind of know where you're going with it. You know, you're going to be broken up for a week and you're going to be back the next week, whatever. And so it wasn't like that type of like, you know, I'm stuck on stupid type of situation. It was like a literal, it was taking away my gifts in a sense. It was taken away from my talents. It was taken away from the things that God wanted to do through me. It was taken away from the ability for the Spirit to actually work in me. Going back to the flesh was not available for what God wanted to do. And in the same way, anytime that I was out of the relationship and I jumped out of the twister, I felt re-inspired to do things. You know, the thing was that I was out of the twister for such a short time that anytime I started like revving up and getting into the momentum of being creative, I was jumping back into the twister again. So it was like, you know, it was just a saltiness that was going on in the twister for me that was not allowing me to be productive, was not allowing it to be a place where I could sow and reap. And that started becoming something so real to me. And the more that I noticed that and became enlightened and aware of that, the more this scripture kept coming back to my mind. And I was like, I'm like Lot's wife right now. Like I'm salty. Like, you know, and it's because of my disobedience. It's because I had gotten the word. It's because I already knew in my spirit what I needed to do. And it's because I kept looking back in a longing, in an attempt to mourn the situation where God was already done. And he expected me to be done with the mourning. And for Lot's wife, you know, she was leaving a place that she knew. You know, she was leaving the place where she was living with her family, with her daughters, a place where she created memories, a place where I'm sure she was looking forward to a future, and to other things that were to come, and leaving it left her with kind of like a sense of like, what's next? You know, I was working here. This was a good place. I was comfortable. Like, what's next? Where are we going next? And again, the Bible says that she stared at it longingly. You know, so it was not like, okay, quick. You know, it was a mourn that she went through, and in that moment she became unproductive. She became a pillar of salt. She became no more. Like, literally, she's not mentioned for such a long time in the Bible, but in the time that she was mentioned, that pretty much represented her whole entire life. Her past, the present, and her future. In that moment in time where she could not disconnect herself from the idea of of leaving something that she had she had made her own ideas with, that she had made her own plans with. And you know what? And it's sad because in her mourning and in her time of not being able to leave that place, she looked back for so long that she could not see the grace and the blessing that was right on the other side. Because what we don't get into here is that the angels when the angels tell Lot to go up to the mountains, he comes back and he tells them that he couldn't go to the mountains because it was too far from Sodom and Gomorrah, and that he felt that he would be killed on the way there, but that he knew of a place that was closer nearby where it would be out of Sodom and Gomorrah, and that he was going to be safe there because it was a shorter distance. And the angels turned around and told him, okay, go there, do that, and when we know that you're there, then we're going to get started to do what we need to do here. And you know, and it's just one of those things that his life was under such grace that God did not even require him to get it all the way right. You know, God was okay with giving him a 3-step program, in essence. And God does that for us sometimes because we are so weak that sometimes, while God is ready to send us to the motherland, we need to make a pit stop because, for whatever reason, whatever, you know what I mean? And when God has his grace on us, and at least we're trying and we're moving, he's okay with you making that pit stop, as long as you know that we got to get up and we got to keep going. And so unfortunately, Lot's wife she was so stuck on what was and what could have been that she didn't even see that she could move forward. And she could move forward at a pace, at her own pace, that there was still life in front of her, and that it was going to be bigger and more abundant and more blessed, because that was what was on her life. And again, that to me was just like so telling, and it just spoke so many volumes to me that it helped me understand that not only that what I was feeling was not my own imagination and me just losing my mind from all of the twister action, but that it was something that was real. It was something that was real. And the moment that I decided that I didn't want to lose a grip of what was there for me. I didn't want to lose a grip of my talents. I didn't want to lose a grip of my goals. I didn't want to lose a grip of what is on the other side. I decided myself to stop jumping into that twister and move forward. And that in itself was like a blessing, you know. And like I said, this has been something, one of those scriptures that has been burning in my spirit for years now, since I've been off the air, and I really wanted to share it with you guys. So I'm gonna leave you with that, okay? Because I know that maybe you guys might want to turn this off and kind of meditate and kind of just look at some circumstances and situations in your life that, you know, that might be similar, and when you analyze, don't look so much at the outside and other people that might actually be affecting you, but actually to figure out if that is the case, look at what's going on in your life. Look at what's going on with you. Look at your productivity. Look at how the things that you are sowing have been harvesting. You know, check yourself first. And then you can say, okay, you know, based on my saltiness, then I can realize that either, you know, it's really not a situation that I need to be running out of like Sodom and Gomorrah, or I've been needing to be running out of this Sodom and Gomorrah. And be honest with yourself, and then take it from there. All right? So I love you guys for watching, and I am so excited to be back with you guys. There's so much more that I want to talk to you guys about, but I'm going to leave you with this one here, and I'm going to ask you to subscribe, and I'm going to ask you to hit that bell button down there so you can get notified when I post up a video. And did I tell you guys that I love you? I did tell you guys that I love you. Bye, you guys. See you soon. Peace.